Welcome to the 2022 Economic Depression and Preparation Channel. I'm your host, Tony. Thank you for joining me on this Thursday, January 27th, 2022. Lots to talk about. I took a little break or hiatus heading into the new year. I appreciate your support and staying with me and with us all during this time as we head into 2022. Now, let's to recap. We have, just as we predicted, and just as I predicted, the inflation has hit 10% or over 11% real inflation, even though the numbers say 7% officially from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. We know that real inflation is topping 12 to 14% at a minimum on food, utilities, transportation, and other goods and services, energy costs, etc. But now we're going to be talking about three things in particular: housing demand dropping, and also the latest data on inflation and the Fed's meetings, of course, meaning that they're likely to hike rates. Rates will be going up beginning in March. Beware the Ides of March. That's what they say in Shakespeare. So here we go, folks. Today, and the latest, and the latest output here, we have here. Let's see, one second. And the latest output here, we have mortgage refinance demand plunges 13% as interest rates climb to two-year high. And this is something that we've been talking about for quite some time because, a lot of people have been using their homes as ATMs, and refinancing, of course, is a great time because rates are historically low, back as low as 2.5%, 2.1% in some cases. But now that the gravy train is beginning to wind down and end, just as we approach the midterm year, as you know, Justice Breyer retired yesterday, or sent papers in today. Everything is looking forward to this election later on in the fall. But in the meantime, the economy is dropping like a rock. We've got mortgage applications to purchase a home dropped 2% for the week. We're down 11% lower than a year ago. And refinance applications fell 13% for the week. And some of those markets like California, Vegas, Phoenix, Orlando, Tampa, Detroit, Baltimore, Indianapolis, Kansas City, all these areas that we normally would see price appreciation is now coming down. Demand is drying up, according to the report here on CNBC. The average 30-year interest rate mortgages increased to 3.72% from 3.64%. So that's going to continue to increase. And also, so the cost of borrowing money for big ticket items like houses and cars and business consumer purchases to borrow business equipment for farming equipment. All of this is going up as a result of this massive money printing scheme that the Federal Reserve has been doing, the QE that's been going on for the last really 13 years. So, guys, this means that we have to be more careful about the way we spend money, the money that we do have, because it's going to be inflation, this hyperinflation, this inflation is going to be here through this year and possibly through the end of next year before they can get a hold of it. It won't get as high as Paul Volcker in the 70s. I don't see a scenario where we have interest rates at 18, 19% because we're already behind the curve. They would have to raise interest rates already this year, six times this year, just to catch up to the inflation percentage that we're at now at 7% to get to the real numbers. So, it's not going to hurt that much, but we are going to continue to see prices continue to skyrocket in homes. And we won't see a housing crash, I believe now, but we will see a housing correction, and that means that prices will come down, but not until the interest rates go up to an unsustainable level. NPR.org. This was just on today. Latest data will give a sense of, quote, where the economic momentum are headed. The momentum is headed down, ladies and gentlemen. The U.S. economy, the World Economic Forum said that the U.S. economy is slowing down. GDP growth will only be estimated at around 3% for the global growth. And the outlook for January is pretty much flatline. They blamed, of course, the pandemic and the supply chain disruption that we've all seen at the stores, at Walmart and Targets and ShopRites and all these other stores, Kroger's. But the main thing is that this economic crisis is going to be a long thing. And whereas the Great Depression was a one-time event in 1929 and the stock market dropped like that, the Fed is signaling here that they're going to hike rates beginning in March. This is what he says, as they say, quote, Powell vows sustained inflation fight. You can't really fight inflation with interest rates at 0% or even at 1 or 2%. They need to match or even exceed the rate of inflation. That's basic economics. So I don't know how much he's going to raise the rates. in this type of economic environment. However, I think that he's trying to wrap a tightrope between the economy and the Wall Street and the disconnect. So, Fed chief says inflation has not improved since December. It's not going to improve. Stocks reverse course to end mostly lower. So, the stock market will continue to teeter and totter and have volatility this year through April. And the inflation is going to continue to grow through first quarter and second quarter. My prediction, the inflation will be at 11 to 12%, according to their numbers, as you can see. And they will make a rate cut, but it'll only be maybe 25 basis points or less, as you can see the graph here. So they're behind the curve here. The Fed has anticipated three rate hikes this year, okay? But they're already behind the curve because inflation is already above 7%. So we're already behind the curve. And three rate hikes are not going to be enough to fight inflation, but they will be enough to keep the stock market going because the stock market will see that he's gradually tightening the monetary policy. And that gives more people time to run to the exits, more of the big time investors who invested a lot into these markets and things of that nature. Because 80% of the stocks are owned by 20% of the people. And so they'll get those people more that make their bets sure up and everything. So this is what they're trying to do, and this is still uh, not counting a black swan event. As you know, guys, we have the Russia-Ukraine conflict, we have the Iran conflict, we have the Chinese uh, island conflict over Taiwan and the other islands in the South China Sea. We have what's going on in Africa. We have so many other conflicts that can boil over and create a black swan event that can just send the dollar, kiss the dollar goodbye. We go to war again, or some type of little conflict that's going to burn our money up, spend our money on these different things. So that's not counting that right now. Another thing I want to note to you too is the jobs report. The jobs report, we only lost this time. Let me see, 1 second here. We only lost 30,000. No, no, I'm sorry, 260,000 jobs this past Thursday at 8:30 a.m. So we're down from 290,000 jobs lost last week. So the numbers are coming down. That's the good news, okay? But the bad news is no new jobs are being created in this new auto technic economy, technocratic economy, if you will. Okay, so that's going to be a problem too that our president and that the Federal Reserve and others are going to be facing. Is what do you do with people that are not going to be employable? And that are coming back home either from military or other areas, and they're not going to be able to find kids graduating from college or school, and they're not going to be enough high tech and other jobs to absorb that many amount of people. So that's going to be a big question too that they're going to have to answer in addition to these rising rates and the inflation that's going to be going on that's going to be eating up people's monies. So a lot to consider. I just want to touch base with you guys. Once again, thank you for joining me. Please be sure to stay tuned for more exciting videos coming up later in the future. Thank you very much. God bless. See you soon.